First, the history of space explorations. Since the beginning of evolution of Homo sapiens, humans have been thinking about moving to other places to search for a better environment and more resources to improve their living conditions. The inhabitants of the ancient world moved from one place to another in the form of small groups and then larger groups to achieve that goal. This map appeared in the late 14th century and encouraged powerful colonial countries to explore the rest of the world. Starting from Portugal, Netherlands, Spain, France, then Britain. Each colonialist displaced the previous one, supported by local or regional powers.
It started out with a couple of ships worth of people. And if you recall, the first colony didn't work out so well. But others did. That sent word that things were going well enough to bring more people over.
This was the first stage of universe discovery, or what we can call intercontinental exploration. Coincidentally, the continents of the modern world, the Americas and Australia, were discovered. Important resources other than spices such as perfumes, diamonds, and petrol were also discovered. And unfortunately, the slave trade from Africa began as well. In 1942, a new stage of discovery was launched by Nazi Germany, which is the discovery of Earth's space. It can be called the stage of the planet discovery. Then it was followed by a Soviet space mission in 1957 with the Sputnik 1 rocket to put the first Soviet satellite in space. In 1960, another Soviet space mission with the Sputnik 5 space rocket carried the first two animals on board to space, then brought them back alive to Earth. The first Soviet manned mission, crewed by the astronaut Yuri Gagarin, launched in 1961 on the Vostok 1 rocket. Interplanetary exploration. The United States in 1964 wanted to precede Russia to Mars with the crewed Mariner mission carried by Atlas LV-3 rocket that passed near Mars and pictured it. the same year, the Soviet mission Voskhod 2 was launched, carrying the astronaut Alexei Leonov and Pavel Pilyaev, who made the first spacewalk. In 1969, the Americans managed to send the crewed Apollo 11 space mission to the moon, and the first astronaut landed on the moon for the first time was Neil Armstrong. In 1970, the Soviets landed a craft equipped with wheels and advanced exploration tools on the surface of the moon and gathered information about it. In 1971, the Soviets made a new breakthrough by smoothly landing an exploration craft on the surface of Mars. The same year, the Soviets launched the first space station, Salyut-1. In 1972, the Americans launched Pioneer 10 that flew by Jupiter and pictured it for the first time. In 1973, the American Mariner 10 flew by Mercury and pictured it. The American spacecraft Venera 9 orbited Venus in 1975. The American Viking 1 completed a space mission on Mars in the same year. Interstellar exploration. In 1977, the United States launched Voyager 1 spacecraft to explore celestial bodies outside the solar system and to pass by Jupiter and picture it closely. In 1981, the United States launched the reusable space shuttle Columbia, and it made 134 space trips later till 2011. In 1986, The Soviet Mir space station was launched and remained operating till 2001 when its mission finished and it was splashed down in the Pacific Ocean. In 1990, the United States launched Hubble Space Telescope from the Space Shuttle Atlantis. Hubble telescope took a huge number of pictures and sent them to NASA. In 1996, the American Near Shoemaker satellite soft-landed on board of an asteroid to travel on its surface and photograph the celestial bodies that pass by it. In the same year, the United States launched Mars Pathfinder rover on Mars by Delta II rocket. In 1997, the Cassini-Huygens satellite was launched to Saturn to land on its moon Titan as a result of cooperation between the United States and the European Union. In 1998, the giant International Space Station UPROXX was launched by the Russian Proton K rocket. In 2004, the satellite Rosetta soft-landed on a comet by the European Ariane rocket. In 2006, United States launched the New Horizons mission to Pluto, which also flew by Jupiter. In 2015, Falcon 9, the first reusable rocket, was launched to space by SpaceX. Second, preparations for colonizing Mars. Mars is the planet that immediately follows Earth in the solar system. Its surface area is a quarter that of Earth. According to its orbit, the closest distance between Earth and Mars is 55 million kilometers.
Mars was once a warm and wet planet. It had liquid water on its surface for more than 1 billion years. So if the theory is correct that life is a natural development from chemistry, life should have appeared on Mars even if it subsequently went extinct. And if we can go to Mars and find fossils of past life, we'll have proven the development of life is a general phenomenon in the universe.
So far, 8 exploratory missions were sent to Mars, provided the following information. There are frozen saltwater lakes on Mars covered by iron trioxide and huge quantities of groundwater. Its atmosphere is badly worn out and unfit for life, as Mars is exposed to intensive solar and cosmic radiations.
Right now, you cannot go to Mars for infinite money. We have to figure out how to improve the cost by 5 million%. And it sounds like virtually impossible, but I think there are ways to do it.
There are places on Mars that you could just about have liquid water. It can be 20 degrees Celsius, warmer than Minnesota. So there are places where it's not horrendous on Mars.
10, 9, 8.
Side booster ignition.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
End of July 2020. 3 uncrewed missions from America, Emirates, and China were launched to Mars in cooperation with SpaceX and NASA. They carried equipment to examine Mars' environment thoroughly.
A project aimed at expanding the skill set at the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center in Dubai, learning to do things such as designing, manufacturing, and integrating large satellites. There was also a desire to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the United Arab Emirates in 2021, and the 2020 launch window to Mars lined up perfectly to allow a mission to arrive there just in time.
In addition, a human mission will travel within 5 years to Mars to prepare for human settlement on Mars. The first spaceship, which is being developed, will carry about 1 million people in groups to settle on Mars by 2050.
At least 100 people per trip is the right order of magnitude in order to reduce the cost per person.
You send the spaceship up to orbit, you retank it or refill it, it travels to Mars, lands on Mars. You can use solar power to extract CO2 from the atmosphere, combine it with water, and produce fuel and oxygen for the rocket.
Have a good day.